Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I was asked a question about weak hadith and using weak hadith. You know, the validity of them, when can they be used? Because when I be speaking on hadith, I do speak briefly about when they can be used, why they was recorded, and different things like that. So, and I'm going to put y'all on right here. This is an Islamic Institute. Dang, it won't show up. It's too bright. Well, you can see right there where it has Creed, Aqidah, right up here at the top. Dang, it was showing. The Institute of Knowledge, right? IOK seminaries. So you know they have Creed, they have Quran studies, Hadith studies, fiqh, and different classes. So like, let's see when you click fiqh. Let me see if I can keep it showing. So look, when you click like fiqh, so you can see where it has, you know, live instructions. So your live courses, classes that you could take live, right? Your on-demand courses, right? And on-demand courses is sign up to these pre-recorded on-demand courses so you can watch and complete them on your schedule. Okay, they didn't have that back in the day. So you have your live classes. So now they also offer on-demand courses. Well, anyway, I went through this with them for hadith studies, and you can see at the top the Institute of Knowledge Seminary Curriculum Series, right? So hadith studies, the science of the Quran, and introduction to usul of fiqh. So they're all introductory level. But now I noticed like maybe 2 years ago, you can actually buy these books on Amazon. You know, I don't know if they, you know, a lot of people not taking the classes, but I don't know. But you can find them on Amazon now, right? You won't have an instructor or whatever. You won't have but they're extremely informative. And like when you go through the classes, basically with your, you know, your little tests, little things you have to do, is really just making sure that you understand it and memorize it when you take your little test. But they made so simple and plain that you can read it without actually taking a class. Like I said, the class is to make sure you understand it properly. You know, I do take that back. You can read it and misunderstand some things, but, and then some people, you won't really need a teacher. I mean, it's and that's probably why they sell them on Amazon now. It's real user friendly. So anyway, that's one of the institutes that I went through and got some of the introduction to hadith, usul of fiqh, and the sciences of the Quran. Introductory level, right? So sometimes having these prerequisites, and like I got some other, you know, from other little sitting with different people and stuff, so I got other higher level books, but this was a cheap way to have a live qualified instructor. They definitely qualify. I don't know about people who may run around and may hear them and want to bash them and say it might not be Salafi or it might not be this or none of that. If you can't teach it to me, shut up. If you can't point me in a direction of somebody that can teach it to me, shut up. Because I'm going to get the knowledge. You understand? So, very, very crisp and clean. So, like, even right now, with me learning a madhab from beginning to end, because I went through courses like this, right, and got a foundation of fiqh and how it should be understood, right, and even like with some of this stuff that I wrote on here, some of the same information is in this book. But this isn't the only one. I got a big fat book. Al-Wadi fi Usul al-Fiqh. Fat headache. Give you a dumb headache book. College level. Above introductory. Right? This joint to give you a headache, man. And when I say it'll give you a headache, it will give you a headache. So these things teach you how to understand fiqh and how to use fiqh, right? But not fiqh from the madhabs. So with me learning fiqh of the madhabs starting from the ground up, one thing I noticed is this, and this is official. This is an official program. A little bit more than this here, right? Official program. And one of the first things when class started, one of the first things I noticed was they don't teach you the science of fiqh. They don't teach you the science of fiqh. So when I start talking about certain things from the science of fiqh, some of like the teacher's assistants, they don't know it. Because what they've done, and like a couple of them got bachelor's degree because they didn't learn the science of fiqh. They learned the madhab from beginning to end. Okay? So what I'm pointing out to y'all is this. So that's why I be saying sometimes when it comes to, and I'm in the arena now, as y'all always hear me say. So now I got a different view, but it's helping me understand. This is why all this confusion is here. Y'all like they deep in the game, but all the rules is missing. So like even with when I was taking these classes and being around a Hanafi, Tabliki, Jamaat, Deobandi, Wharf-Deen Masjid, I understood they don't understand the science of fiqh. To them, fiqh just means what a madhab says. Yeah. To a lot of people. So when they start to discuss fiqh and looking at different things, they only repeat what a madhab say. So like they'll say certain things like, oh well, and now the way they expand it, oh well the scholars differ. But really it's just a difference between the madhabs. So it's okay. It's all la-di-da-di. But in essence, it's not. It's not. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, when it comes to the rules, and this is what I be wanting people to understand, even when it comes to scholars, scholars are in particular fields. You may be a scholar of Sharia, where you have to deal with hadith, but you might not know the sciences of hadith. You may know a little general, or like it sounds strange because when we hear scholar and the way the people turn scholars around, but scholars will even tell you, that's not my specialty. Let me send you to somebody that is their specialty. So that's why you even have people who deep in the madhab say you don't need hadiths, because a lot of what they got going on, it isn't based off of hadiths. So just to get y'all to understand that, so I got a leg up because I understand fiqh. Not fiqh of the madhabs, but I understand fiqh. I understand how to do deep dives. I understand the science of hadith. I understand hadith and how they work. See, that's why I say they deep in the game, but all the rules is missing. I talked to somebody hit me up, Hanafi. Alhamdulillah. I got a couple of people, I'm cool with some people that's Hanafi. I deal with somebody from every madhab and been doing it for years. Not more than just one person. Cause that stuff don't matter to me. You know what I'm saying? But he was raised Hanafi. Father, grandparents. He feel like he pretty cold with Hanafi fiqh. He didn't know this. He didn't know this. That the Hanafi, the way they put things in their own category. He didn't know this. So when it comes to understand, and when you start to learn the sciences of fiqh, even on an introductory level, excellent book. I would recommend. I wouldn't listen to no people who don't know nothing saying, oh, whoever that author is, he's not known. All the weird stuff they say to keep people uneducated, because as long as you don't have no education, they're going to be your educators. As soon as you get some education, you will find out they're not as educated as you think. You're going to be like, man, these cats is a bluff. And now y'all done let the worst thing happen that possibly could have happened. The Ashreys done figured out, oh, the Ashreys rubbing their hands like this. These dudes ain't got no real knowledge. Let us get your people and your women. And wallahi, like I said, with the debates, right? The way they set up and we was in the thing, after they defeated a couple of the Salafis, they left. And one of the brothers said, we're going to continue with our plan. We're going to start by taking their women. They already weak and they tired of abuse. Once we start to take their women, the men gonna follow. And then they was doing a lot of, because some of them ex-Salafi, so they was doing a lot of ignoramus, imbecile, using these terminologies, right? And then a brother who I let y'all hear his clip, he said, look, we want to clean up our manners. We want to start being nicer to the people. Because that's the reason why they wanting to leave them. They too mean, they too bitter, they always attacking. They always into somebody, into it with people. So let's just be nice to them. Let's be soft and gentle with them. And this was before COVID. Alright, this was around 2019, 2020. And that's why I've always look in and see they having a lot of success in their plan. Okay? But they don't let the wrong people find out, because those is their arch nemesis. They getting their lick back from all the time when they was weak. And these brothers was stomping on them. And now they done got their numbers up. And they ready for war. and they getting busy. Okay? So, with this madhab and learning, some of them don't know the actual science of fiqh. All they know is madhab. All they know is madhab. And a lot of people who've been going to particular masjids, and the little bit of what they taught, the little bit of what they told, and a couple of little books that they read, and this is the madhab we follow, that's to the extent of it. And then they may listen to some, because I'm going back to the days, some cassettes, some CDs, some SoundCloud of their favorite people, where they getting bits and pieces, and their imams, right, all the way up to now YouTube and Instagram, but they don't know the rules. They don't know the rules. Especially when it comes to fiqh. And they don't know the rules when it comes to hadith. They don't know the rules when it comes to hadith. So I'm finna break down and let me show y'all once again how they changed the pieces. It's kind of like they started playing chess with checker pieces and checker rules. I'm not criticizing the madhabs or the imams. Let me make that clear, because I don't want anybody to start listening with their feelings. Okay? I'm just giving people information that a lot of people won't speak about. Because like I always say, some people chasing the check. I'm not even set up to make money. So they're not going to say things that may sound problematic. And on top of that, I have no issue with showing people the books and institutes that you can go through, institutes that I dealt with. You can go get the Arabic language and everything, and it's a legitimate spot. And guess what else? It's in America. You don't have to do it online. It's in California. You can actually go there. Yes. Yeah. Learn Arabic, get all type of Islamic study degrees and everything. And they've sent some of the people, just like the brother who put this series together for the institute to make it easier. PhD. He went over school. He went and studied in. I think he got his PhD in like Malaysia, at the Islamic University in Malaysia, right? And the book's so balanced. He just give you the college educated science of all of it. No favoritism towards any madhab, no favoritism towards the Salafi view, no favoritism towards nothing. Clean cut education and the real science. Because this ain't the only place that I dealt with. I'm just putting y'all on because they got a whole curriculum. Okay? It's affordable. And now these books, I seen these books maybe my first time on Amazon like 2, maybe 3 years ago. Yeah, because we're in 2005. Like 3 years ago. It might have been 4. Whole curriculum. I didn't look at the price. I just seen them. It was some books that I was ordering, and then they popped up at the bottom of the thing. Like it'd be like people who bought this or searched this, they also viewed these books. And I looked at them and was like, wow, but I didn't click it to see what the price was or none of that. If the price was showing, wallahi, I don't remember. I don't remember. But when I got them through the institute, they was extremely affordable. Alright? And this was in like 2019, something like that. Maybe 2018. I don't be all that good with years like that because I had so much things going on. So sometimes I get my years mixed up. But it was definitely before COVID. It was 2019, I believe. But anyway, when it comes to hadith, right? I'm going to show y'all the book. What we going to discuss. So I showed y'all how they changed the rules with fiqh. and then showed y'all how they come up with their own definition of what the sunnah is. Alright? This is just reality. This is just reality, man. This isn't me talking. This is reality. A lot of people don't know this. So, look at this right here. Let's go to this one right here, right? So look at this. There are three major opinions regarding using a mursal hadith as a legal proof. So like when I said, weak hadiths can't be used as dalil, but there's certain circumstances. If there's absolutely nothing else reported about that, and it doesn't go against any authentic hadith, right? But it still got to meet conditions. Like, is it weak because of the isnad? Is it weak because the isnad is broken? So this is like a broken chain, right? Mursal is like a broken chain. Basically, let's say for instance, you have somebody who was, let's say, Ibn Abbas, companion, right? Then Ibn Abbas may have relayed this hadith to like Ibn Umar, the son of Umar. And then the chain is broken, but then it reconnect with somebody who was in like the third generation. So it either should have had two narrators in between that time or one narrator. So we'll say about 70 years is missing. 60, 70 years is missing. But then somehow it's reconnected and then the chain continues. So they look at that and say, no, like I talked about it before, there's no way he met this person. He wasn't even alive when this person, so there's no way this person gave him that hadith. But we do know that this hadith is true. The hadith is true, but the chain is broken. We know it's true because it has been narrated through some different authentic routes. But we still classifying it weak as da'if. Now, because it may have a little bit of different wording, it may be worded a little different, it may be worded better. Okay? But there's another hadith that strengthen it. Now, some narrators and collectors of hadith may take it and level it up. Due to that, there's some other hadiths that says the same thing. They may level it up to Hasan Gari. It's strange. This is a strange hadith. It has some strangeness, but it's good. But it could never be Sahih. Some just leave it at Da'if. So when it and then this is with Athar too. So when it hits certain things, then you know whether you could use it or not. But look at this right here. So that's with Mursal Hadith. There are three major opinions regarding using a Mursal Hadith as a legal proof. So you can see where the opinion started changing over the years. Alright? So the majority of Hadith scholars and the jurists and scholars of Usul, now this is your individuals from the Salaf, are of the opinion that a Mursal Hadith is weak and cannot be used as a legal proof. So you can't use it as evidence even if you're trying to win an argument. Legal proof, you can't use it in a court of law. Because you got to understand, they have Sharia law, so they have Sharia court. So it can't be used as legal proof in law, and it still can't be used as, even if you arguing with somebody. Okay? Now look at this. As legal proof, because of the missing narrators, is not known. Now, let's say it started with Ibn Abbas, and then he narrated it to Ibn Umar. now is missing one or two narrators. Sometimes corrupt people hid those narrators because those narrators was no good. But those narrators could have changed the hadith. They could have been some of the corrupt Yahuds. So some people intentionally left those out. Or they was lying and selling hadiths, trying to make like they heard it directly from Ibn Umar to people who didn't know no better. And then people who knew Jawad Tardil set up and said, nah, this guy wasn't even alive. They weren't even alive at the same time. So a mursal hadith, you can't use it as legal proof. So then comes in, now this ain't the first opinion. They showing three opinions, but this is law. Then comes in, according to Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, and Imam Ahmed, a mursal hadith is acceptable as long as the successor is known to be trustworthy, who only narrates from other trustworthy sources. So they came in, those three. Now, although Imam Hanbal and Hanifa not from the same time, but Imam Hanbal, Imam Ahmed learned directly from some Abu Hanifa top students. So it ain't like he was taught this was acceptable. You see what I'm saying? He was taught that this was acceptable. See, y'all have to understand that. When you're learning from people, they're teaching you what it is that you're learning. So they're putting Abu Hanifa first from the understanding I have, because he was the first one that set this precedence. We're going to accept mursal hadith as long as the successor is known and he's trustworthy. But the people in between could have been the one who changed it. You understand? So, and I hope this don't offend anybody. And if you know, like I have different books learned from classes, this is a known fact from people who study, and I'm going to say this, and I hope it don't offend anybody, but from the people during that time, Imam Abu Hanifa is rejected in hadith. Fiqh, hey, some people say he's the best amongst the four imams, but he's rejected in hadiths. That's why some won't even touch, like some people who became scholars and they this and that, they won't even touch his madhab, because Quran and Sunnah is the foundation of everything. Okay? So they accept weak hadiths that's mursal. For one, change the rules, change the science. Then also with fiqh and Sharia that defines law, they change that too. Then they also, due to them changing that, they changed what the meaning of what the sunnah is. Okay? And then set a precedent for others to follow. So then it comes in again. Imam Shafi'i was of the opinion that a mursal hadith can be used as a valid legal proof as long as it meets certain conditions. Then it goes into this and that, which his was a little stricter, but more along the lines, if it's mursal, but this other hadith, there's 10 other hadiths that match up with this hadith. This one just has a broken chain. So we can understand that, because technically you're not taking from that particular hadith. You're taking from the other 10 that's sahih, not broken. So you can record it, you can put it in your book, but make sure you put that as mursal. So I want y'all to understand weak hadiths and the validity of them. And this is why you can start to understand why a lot, I ain't gonna say a lot, I hate to say that, because sometimes when you're not being specific and you don't give an exact number, they may know 10 things, and now they argument is, oh, well, it ain't a lot, it's only 10 things. Oh, they all said it's okay. But it really might be like 300 things. But a lot of stuff that, stock for the law, some of the things that they do is based off not only weak hadith, but weak athar, narrations. Okay? Now watch when we get into the rules. Okay? Now this is just the mursal, because I ain't going to go through all of them because it's a lot. But just to show y'all, they made their own set of rules. With fiqh and with hadith. They made their own rules. Now hold on. So now we're going to come through. I'm going to skip through some just to get to the point, right? So this section is acting upon and using weak narrations. So this is hadith and athar. Right? So here go two conditions, right? The scholars of hadith, usul, and the jurist maintain that it is permissible to narrate a weak hadith with two conditions. So this is how they end up in Tirmidhi, how they end up in Dawood. Okay? So two of the conditions is the hadith should not be related to the field of belief or creed. So no weak hadiths talking about where's Allah. No weak hadith talking about anything that involves certain things with Aqidah and the creed of Islam. Those can't even be narrated. Those can't even be collected and written in your books. But because they were around, and because people changed the rules, some people still collected these things. Okay? So look at this. The second one, the hadith should not and cannot be associated with any legal rulings. So when it comes to legal rulings, this means you aren't supposed to record, narrate, or collect a weak hadith if it says the legal way to make salat is by doing this. Because you might see some people, because I don't want to show no real positions, so I'm just going to say this. So it's a weak hadith or a weak athar saying one of the Prophet's companion told me that you do this. Okay. Now, if when you can record that, a hadith saying one of the Prophet companions say we do this and you're supposed to do this in Salat, a athar, it's recorded so you know to stay away from it. This is not this has become a common practice. So we're going to record this and make it clear you stay away from this. You stay away from this. So sometimes they are recorded so you know to not fall into it. When you understand the concept of weak hadith can't be accepted as dalil, that general principle, you stay away from it. But because y'all had to understand, some people was already Muslims when they came up with their school of thought. Some of these people was Muslims as 5-year-old kids, 6-year-old kids. Their parents was Muslim. They was born into Islam. So they was taught particular practices all the way up until they decided to come up with their own madhab. So some of these practices that they have been on since birth, now they getting up in age and they learning things, and it's like, hey, baby pa, you can't do that. This is the hadith, the sunnah, the sahaba said. Okay, let's just change that. Now, I'm not trying to slander or not criticizing nobody, but they changed the rules, baby pa. And a lot of stuff they do is weak. Not a lot. Some of the things they do is weak. And then they'll say, well, it's a weak hadith, but they're still weak hadith. Why can they say that? Because they changed the rules. They changed the rules. And see, a lot of people who just learn madhab, they deep in the game, but all of the rules is missing. Look at this right here. So continuing on, right? Let me give y'all some more. So that's just a couple of conditions, right? Based on the above two conditions, the majority of scholars are of the opinion, because you know they got to be politically, they got to put opinion and they got to soften it up. Just like instead of saying, hey, they was wrong, they say there's a difference of opinion to keep the peace. Hey, they made a mistake. Oh, well, they instead of saying he made a mistake, they don't agree. They just say, oh, they all have different opinions. And they use the word opinion because opinions aren't fact. This is our opinion. That's why when you get deep into the deen, one of the rules is the opinion of a scholar is not dalil, even if they've been recorded as some of the greatest scholars to ever walk the land. That's why when it comes to fiqh of the madhab, they classify it as what? Rulings of opinions. Not rulings of facts. This is their opinion. And when you start to learn the rules, you will see they change the game. And that's cool, because I don't want nobody to feel like I'm bucking a system. But the problem is, when it comes to things that's legally, you can't just go change the rules and say, because I was been taught from birth to do this in Salat, now when I get in the madhab and start my own madhabs, and we start our own madhabs, we change the rules in accordance with what we already been doing in our opinion. Well, we accept that hadith because there's a well-known person in it. Now, this is outside of Mursal hadith, right? So look at this. So, opinion that the majority of the scholars are of the opinion that it is permissible to narrate weak hadith that are related to virtuous deeds. Like I said in the thing, certain, like let's say for instance, you will see some hadiths that may be weak, but it say when you wake up for Fajr, say Alhamdulillah 100 times. Okay? Things like that. Which there are some weak hadiths with certain du'as, but because it is still a good du'a, and just like you say in English, whatever you have a need for, you make du'a for it. It ain't like you have to say exactly what this du'a was. Like let's say you want to become a du'a. You want to become a doctor. You want to become a nurse. And you make du'a to become a doctor. You didn't have to go find no hadith that said this is the du'a that you make to become a doctor. You can have your own individual du'a, and then there's prescribed du'as for certain things that the Rasul made. But you still can make your own du'as. So there are certain du'as, some of them be weak hadith, but because it's point out to something virtuous deeds, that's not a bid'ah. Okay? It ain't no bid'ah. It ain't saying like, because salat is something legislated. So it ain't like it's a hadith that say, do 200 rakats after Fajr. See, that wouldn't be recorded. You see what I'm saying? But if it has a virtuous deed, or encouraging some good and discouraging evil, right? And that's why you'll see some things in the book of hadiths that be Israeliyats. The Rasul used to teach from Israeliyats, just like what people refer to as the famous hadith about the man who killed 99 men and then he killed the 100th person. That was an Israeliyat. You can learn from that. So that's what it's talking about. And good character and stories, like an Israeliyat. However, when narrating a weak hadith, it should not be attributed directly to the Rasul. Because then you be lying on the Rasul, right? Using definitive terms instead of using the expression of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said such and such. That's why sometimes when it be things that's weak or this and that, the etiquette that I use and say, it has been narrated. And see, so giving y'all the code language, sometimes when people be saying they going to get the rulings or this and that, fatwa or fatawa from a sheikh, you have to listen to him, and then you have to know what type of sheikh he is. And then they'll say some things like, Islam teaches us that. And then they might quote a weak hadith. Instead of saying the Prophet said or the Prophet taught us, it has been narrated, it has been said, Islam teaches us. This is from the etiquette. Okay? Now my point is, because people change the rules, alright? So look at this. Continuing on. When it comes to acting upon weak ahadith or using them as a legal proof, there is a unanimous agreement that it is not permissible to use weak ahadith for issues related to belief or creed. The vast majority also agree that it is not permissible to use weak ahadith to establish legal rulings. Now, there is a disagreement amongst the scholars regarding the uses of weak ahadith related to the virtues of rewards of deeds. Fadal in al-mal. I know I be saying that wrong, especially when I have to look at it how they try to put it in English, right? But we all know that people have a particular book that have a lot of questionable things in it, and that's the name of the book. So when it's saying there's a difference amongst the scholars, they're referring to a particular madhab. Okay? So legal ruling. So when it comes to legislated things that's far, such as wudu, such as salat, such as fasting, okay, legislated ibadah that we have to do. You can't use weak hadith that say you're supposed to do this in Salah. You can't use it. Especially when there's authentic, can't be disputed reports that stomp out what you're trying to use. These is the rules. But like I said, because the rules and what the sunnah mean and the science of hadith has been tweaked. I don't want to say changed. I want to say something friendly like tweaked. You have this big mess today that some people don't see as a big mess because they all say, oh, we're the greatest imam that ever walked the world. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic. Well, they all had a difference. They all felt this is okay. And when I hear people talk like that, you know what I say? You're deep in the game, but all the rules of fiqh and hadith is missing. You don't know the rules. You just know what they say and the things that they say to keep the peace, because at particular time, these people used to fight. Yeah, particular madhabs used to fight particular madhabs, baby. Like, get busy. So look at this, and then I'm going to wrap it up. So there are basically three major opinions when it comes to using weak hadith for fada'il al-amal. Right, y'all know what I'm saying. One, weak hadith should not be acted up on without exception, regardless of whether they are in beliefs, legal rulings, encouraging and warning righteous deeds. This was the opinion of the great hadith scholars such as Yahya bin Ma'in al-Bukhari, Muslim, and and the scholars of Maliki fiqh in Medina, right? And a couple of them from the scholars of Shafi'i, right? But as you can see, even before we got to them, where it said the majority of the scholars of hadith, this is just referring to in this book, this Fada al-Man, that they came up with all the, because it got it got some things going on with it, according to some. Now, when you going by the rules that have been changed, it's perfect. It's the best you can do. So, like things that are go in, like clipping your nails every Friday because it's virtue. Clip your nails, shave your armpits, shave hairs, and trim this. And if you into cleaning this, or if you do that every Friday, you get 455,000 2 points of a million good deed. If you do it every Friday, things like that, because things like that is in there. Okay? So they saying it's a no-go. Then they say, this is a second opinion. It is permissible to act upon weak hadith without exception if there is nothing else related in that area or discussion. So, that's the point I was telling y'all. If there's no Sahih hadith, and this weak hadith is the only thing that is reported, but this weak hadith also doesn't go against any of the authentic hadiths, then you can use it and act upon it. But like I said, if it's an authentic hadith, several hundreds of authentic hadiths that say do this, and we talking about hadith from Rasulullah, either this or this, right? This, all of that's good. But then a narration that says an athar from a companion said do this, But then another person say, well, when I looked at the companion, he did this. Every time I prayed with him, he was doing this, not this. So if something is authentically reported, if there's, even if it's Hassan, even if it's not even Sahih, but it's Hassan, you can't act up on it. You can't act up on it. Okay? So, hey, now, look at this. This was the opinion of Abu Hanifa, Shafi, Malik, and Ahmed ibn Hanbal. Why they acting up on weak things? Who put that in there? How did it become? Because they didn't have the dalil for everything. You gotta understand, they wasn't born writing the madhab. They was taught Islam because their parents was Muslim. So things that they was acting up on that you may find in a madhab, they was taught that. So then they may not have the dalil that says the authentic report is to do this, not this. So, well, this is all we have. No, this is all you've been taught. And then like other people who joined that madhab and learned from them and kept that position, that's what he was taught. Anyway, man, let me be quiet. So then, the third position, it is permissible to act up on a weak hadith that are related to fada'il, some people say actions and this and that, right? And not those that are related to beliefs and legal rulings. So as long as it don't have Aqidah or, like I said, a legal ruling. It can't go against, it can't have a different belief about where Allah is, Allah's hands, Allah's attributes, or legal rulings. So what you have in Salat, what you have in Wudu, what you have in fasting, how you get married, how you get divorced, all of these have legal rulings. Business transactions. So when you understand the rules, and I'm just giving y'all a couple of little things, so I just hope nobody start listening with their emotions and get mad at your boy, because I'm not trying to say anything about any of the madhabs. Let me make that clear. But all I'm saying is the rules have been changed, and some people don't even know what the rules are or the changed rules. And when you know them, and then you stick to what these imams said they self, if you come across something authentic, then know that's my sunnah too. Throw away what I said. Throw away what I said and go with what's authentic. But the problem is, people don't do that, man. But at the same time, they people deep in the game, but the rules is missing. And that's what kind of set me apart from a lot of other people. I know the rules. I know the rules. Okay? And when it comes to understanding, like I say, man, I tell people, man, get into Bukhari and Muslim. We have access to more authentic stuff Well, see, I want to be careful with that because some people not always ready for new information. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna be careful with that. I know I done said more than enough. Dakik. So alhamdulillah, man. Learn the rules, man, and it'll change a lot for you, and stay open minded, because like I said, I'm in the arena, man, and as I'm sitting up saying, and I'm still new to it, things may change, but like I said, I got a whole syllabus. So I know what my classes are. I know what they are. I know what books we're going to study from for the next few years. Some of the books I already had. But I ordered the ones that they recommended so I can tie them up to each other. Okay? These is the books. They the exact same book, just different translators, see? And y'all always heard me say in videos, like when I talk about, I like to get, let's say it's a book, a decent book, but I like to get the same book explained by more than one scholar. So I look at the books and I see certain things, and then I start seeing in this book, it'll say this, this, and this, and then in this one, this stuff be excluded. So then I had to do research, like, hold on, this one say this, and this one say that ain't the fact. Then I started, talking to other people, and then talking to some TAs, and started to learn there's friction within the madhab. This side of the madhab sees it this way. This side of the madhab doesn't. So sometimes, even with learning a madhab, especially in this day and time, it's still going to boil down to which side of the madhab you're on, because they have split. And like I said, some of the stuff that we looking at, me understanding fiqh, not fiqh of the madhabs, but fiqh, the fiqh that was before madhabs, right? Understanding sciences of hadith and science of the Quran and how to do deep dives. I'm sitting up looking, saying, hold on, some of this what we doing. Imam Ahmed Ibn Hanbal, this isn't him. This isn't his writings. This is somebody who came down years ago, put this in there. So now I'm gauging it all like that. Just like when I'm seeing his writings and seeing that he's saying doing 4 rakats for Tarawih invalidates your prayer, invalidates your Tarawih, or it's makruh, right? Because I went and looked at all of them. All of them disagree with it, but one of them said it invalidates the prayer. I want to say I have to bust the books back out, but it's makruh or it invalidates your prayer. But authentic hadith say he did 4 during Ramadan. He did 4 rakats, and like right now in today's time, I haven't seen a masjid that wasn't doing 4 rakats for Tarawih. You know what I'm saying? Unless I'm tweaking. Right? And then when you're doing your regular night prayers, you do them in 2s. So to see that they had that opinion that it couldn't be done, then my mind starting to look, who changed it? When did doing 4 become the thing? And then like some people who say they follow a madhab, I'm starting to learn because I'm talking to other people. They don't know the original. They don't even know the original stuff of these some of this stuff from the madhabs. They know what's in them today. Who cleaned up some of it? So when you know the rules, you will view it different. And that's why some scholars, I ain't gonna go into that, man. Let me get off of here, man. And that's just brief. I might go through the whole book. I might do something, but I don't know how well it'll be absorbed. We definitely gonna get to a point as we come up, because we starting off as babies, and we coming up. So in the late night sessions and offline, we definitely gonna get to a mandatory. It ain't no way that we can navigate our way through this deen without me giving it to y'all. So that's like a heads up. I seen them, like I said, I don't know if they still on there, but like 2-3 years ago, they had them on Amazon. But you know what they look like? It may be some other bookstores where you could find them. That's an institute where you could get live classes. And now I see they offer on demand, where I guess the classes will be recorded and they'll send them to you, and you can take them on at your own pace. And I'm pretty sure they'll give you a tutor or an assistant, because when I was fooling with Bilal Phillips Institute, the free section, they had it set up that way, but I just challenged all the tests where you get pre-recorded videos, but they give you a live person that you can correspond with. You can FaceTime them, like if you get stuck or something you're not understanding, they got a live person that you could correspond with. So I'm pretty sure they got those like that. And the institute, like I said, I dealt with it in 2019, 2020, right? 2019, 2020, because it wasn't like it took me a gang of years to get through this with them. You know what I'm saying? But and they was live classes or whatever, so they probably just recorded some of those classes that was live, and then they'll send you some of them. I don't know. Wallahi, I don't know what they gonna be like, but I just think that where it said on demand. So if y'all want to get ahead of the curve, I don't know what the prices is like. I don't know what done happened with it. Like I said, man, after I got done with that and moved up and start, of course you got to go where you can get it. So after I got what they had to offer, I didn't do no Akida or nothing with them. I just did those sciences. You know what I'm saying? Quran, Hadith, and Usul, all introductory level. You know what I'm saying? And then as I moved up to different institutes and different teachers and people that I sit with overseas, I adjusted everything that way. But it allowed me to get ahead of the curve. Just like right now, as I'm in this madhab class and we doing comparative and this and that, I'm not absorbing anything. Because you know what I'm saying, but I'm just seeing it's making sense to me now. Oh, okay. So this is the delay they have for this. This is why all of this is missing. Oh, okay. This is what they use for this. Oh, they use this much of the hadith and left the rest out. So now me seeing it, I'm able to say, oh, and then me understanding the science. Okay, they changed the rules. They changed the definition of the sunnah. Then they changed the rules of fiqh, defining law. So that's why this is permissible. That's why this is permissible. And that's why this, all based off of their opinion. But it's alhamdulillah, man. I'm not knocking it. I can't say anybody else want to learn from it. I'm saying I'm not absorbing nothing because I started off with hadith. And anybody who believes you can't learn your religion off the actual sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then you've been brainwashed. And I understand it, because right now, in today's time, we'll say the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we might quote a hadith, but at least 90% of what people talking about, Imam so and so, scholar so and so. And I'm not saying, I'm not knocking scholars. I'm not saying they shouldn't do that, But the problem for me is y'all putting the opinions of some people over Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whether you call yourself whatever you call yourself. No, it's the madhab. We don't need the actual sunnah. Our madhab covers all of that. Yeah, okay. You don't know the rules. Oh, and see, like one of the things that they do, what you'll see, now I'm going to get up off of here, where they twist up certain things. The Sahaba, they didn't differ in ibadah. They differed on things like certain things that would be considered, let me use the words some of the modern people using, branches of Aqidah, as opposed to Aqidah, right? But how to make salat, how to make wudu, they didn't differ on those things. Maybe how to recite, because they had the Rasul right there with them. Now, if they did see a little different, you got to understand, they're praying with them. They're learning the salat from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, you can see hadith where some people came in who technically didn't learn from him but may pray in the back. Y'all got to understand, there was a lot of people in the ranks. So when he come in and start praying, the Rasul say, go back and pray. You ain't prayed. And people need to hold on to the hadith. He go do the exact same thing again. Come back, Rasul say, you go back and pray again. You still haven't prayed. So at the third time, the individual come back and say, you know, what am I doing wrong? Now, because he corrected what he was doing wrong, some people take that hadith to say, well, this is this. As opposed to looking at it saying, the things he pointed out was the things he was doing wrong. Y'all can't change the whole entire prayer because y'all done changed the rules of what's accepted and what isn't, and what the sunnah is, and how to define law. But my point is, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you ain't prayed. Pray like I pray. Not, oh, well, you can choose if you want to do this, 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 or if you want to do this. The choice is yours. The Sahaba didn't differ in those things, and when they did have it, they went to the Rasul and got clarification. So some of the things, like I say, in Aqidah or branches of Aqidah, they had difference in those things, but Ibadah, it's even to the point where one of the hadiths affected me so bad, man, back in like 2003, when I first started reading hadiths, where one of the older companions who lived, you know, once the Rasul passed away, some people just lost their desire to live in Medina. You know, it hurt them so much. So one of the companions, real noble companion, he left Medina. And then something, I think it may have been Uthman. I can't remember who the Khalifa was. I probably had to go look at the whole thing again. But basically, they kind of summoned him to come back. They wanted to talk to him. Whatever reason, he went back to Medina. So he went back to Medina for a short stay. And he started going to the Prophet's masjid. So they seen him sitting down crying, like beard soaked. And they was like, why are you crying? And this man said, and I'm paraphrasing, either I done forgot how to make salat, or they're making salat wrong. Either I done forgot how to pray, or they praying wrong. And this is in Medina. And I think he was like maybe 80, 83. I think he was in his 80s. So he wasn't sure if old age done caught up with me. Have I forgot the prayer? Or are these people praying wrong? Matter of fact, it was after Uthman wasn't alive either, because I don't know who the Khalifa was, but anyway, he came back. Okay, he was like maybe 80, 83, 86. But where he went, and see, where I put my mind to work, when you left and went, where you went, you've been praying with them all this time, and they was all praying the same as you. Now you come back to Medina, and people praying different. So it wasn't you, baby. It wasn't you. You didn't have a thought like this until you came back to Medina. But because it's Medina, because it's the Prophet's city, I'm talking about crying bad, beard soaked. Either I done forgot how to pray, or these people praying wrong. And man, that affected me so bad, man. That affected me bad. It scared me. It scared me, man. Because this is just a short time. So in my head, like, you know, and I was reading a biography by Imam Shakani. And that man, Imam Shakani, flat out states in there, madhabs messed up everything. He said, now everywhere you go, everybody doing something different. But before that, everybody who was on the sunnah, everybody did everything the same way. As far as ibadah. Everybody prayed the same. Everybody made wudu the same. Everybody fasted the same. Breaking their fast at the same time. In the morning. When they ate sahur and all that. Everybody stuck to the hadith. And when I read him say that, I was like, whew, that's crazy. But anyway, man, let me get up off of here, man. And I'm not trying to, trust me. I'm sharing my journey with y'all at the same time, giving some knowledge to the new shahadas that I deal with. And like right now, my conversation is definitely gonna be different because I'm learning the madhab from the beginning. I'm in the arena now, baby. And everybody, oh, you always just want to do hadith. You don't understand fiqh. But see, I don't tell everybody, man, I've been studied fiqh on all type of levels. I just didn't study madhabs. To you, fiqh is what a madhab say. There was fiqh before the madhabs. I've studied that extensively. Okay? So anyway, man, but now that I'm in it, it's allowing me to see more. Now I'm looking at, because I did make a mistake and say I ain't learned nothing new. Well, I did say like as far as ibadah, but now I'm learning stuff like, what? Y'all said that it invalidates doing 4 rakats for Tarawih, invalidate the prayer? It's my crew and all of that. Well, for the ones who say it invalidate the prayer, they definitely seen it worse than my crew. Yeah. But anyway, man. So y'all forgive me, man. I'm not trying to bash them, man. But learn the rules. Learn the rules, man. You know what I mean? So assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.